So, hi, I want to welcome everybody back to the Single Summit 2001. And I'm so excited about our next guest. We have Mrs. Cheri Syphax with us
Yes,
today. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. How are you?
Doing well. Now, Cheri is she is the host of the Leader and Love podcast, and she is the creator of Dating Facts Agency, where she helps people um, with their online dating profiles and just really helping getting make sure that they're putting their best foot forward in when looking for love.
Absolutely.
And her specialty is she will take your dating profile from mundane to magnificent so that you can attract the man of your dreams. And so I just want to thank you so much for being able to come today and speak to our ladies at the Single Summit, Cheri.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and so let's just kind of jump right in there. You have a very interesting story about how you met your husband. Now, how long have you been married?
I've been married since May 22nd, 2021. So almost 6 months.
Oh
Or
wow, so you're like the
months
newlywed. Like
and
y'all
newlywed.
probably ain't even unpacked all the wedding gifts yet.
We haven't, my husband's building me a house. So we haven't even unpacked any of them because they're all going to the new house.
Oh wow, wow.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, well, do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey?
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, thank you for having me. I'm Cheri Syphax, and I just love the space because I love talking to women. I love empowering women. I think you heal women, you heal the world. And so I always am excited to share my story and my message and hope that if it inspires even one person, then, that's worth the price of admission, if you will. So my journey starts with, and I started at a point where I just wasn't having the experiences that I felt I deserved in life. And I say that because my parents had poured a bunch of confidence into me. My grandparents had poured a bunch of confidence in me. I mean, I was well educated, and even though I lived in challenging circumstances, that wasn't the environment that my mom was like, "What's going on outside is not happening in here." So she bused me to the best schools. I always had the latest clothes. I mean, just the whole nine. But I had to take a look at my life. I got breast cancer, and that really helps you be reflective. And I took inventory and said, in my professional life, in some of my personal relationships, and definitely my love life, I'm not maximizing and I'm not reaching any of my goals that I had set for myself. So I had to take some inventory, and I had to have some real hard talks with myself about what was hindering me from moving forward. What were the roadblocks that were keeping me stuck? And I found that, we are definitely part of who we were raised by. My mother was very religious. And my mother was very fearful. My mother didn't date because she didn't want anybody to molest me. Now, I understand that, but it's a fear mentality. And so, because of that, I grew up fearing doing anything too far outside of the box that I created for myself. And I also needed comfort, security, familiarity. Those were the core values of mine. So when you think about it, okay, you stay at the job forever because it's comfortable and it's familiar, and you know it. You know you're gonna get your paycheck, and you know what their expectations are. Relationships can be that way too, very comfortable, things like that. So I really started recognizing that I wasn't living life because I kept myself in a box. And once I had that realization, then I had to get real with, why was I having these bad relationships? Well, my father, who's amazing, and just the first man that loved me, really, and my grandfather. My father was a womanizer, so he was married, but he was a womanizer, and as that was familiar behavior to me. So when a man cheated on me, it wasn't about he's bad or I'm embarrassed. It's about I'm kind of used to that because my dad did it too. He picked me up and I was his alibi, and I would go out with him and his girlfriends and all that stuff. And my stepmother was at home with my brothers. So I had to really do the work around loving my father without loving his behavior. And
Mm.
when I shifted that mindset, then I was able to have a different expectation of the men in my life. And even down to relationships with women. And I think sometimes we overlook that, but I was very competitive with my girlfriends. Or if they got something or a success that maybe I thought I should have gotten or whatever, I wasn't as happy for them. Or I may have been a little jealous, or I may have been a little judgy, just all the things to not completely fully celebrate them. And I just had to be honest with myself and say, why was that? And what in me, coveted what they had. What was for them was for them, but what was for me is going to happen for me. So really just being super honest with myself. And it was not easy. And I was in my room by myself, like, ooh, girl, you got a lot of work to do. And I got a coach and I did the work. I really did. And every aspect of my life changed. And so that's kind of where I started, even to the point of at 45, left the career that I was in, went and got my master's degree in organizational development and leadership, and had a company call me in a completely different industry. I went from tech to medical device. I don't have a medical background, anything. I used to be in an operating room with neurosurgeons and orthopedic surgeons while they're in surgery using our tools. Like I'd never done anything like that. Most people that have that job are like pre-med students that decide they don't want to go into medicine.
Oh, wow.
Or, people who maybe their dads were orthopedic surgeons, so there's familiarity around disease states and things like that. But I took that job. I got that job. I took that job. They moved me from Oakland to Philadelphia. And I was just fearless. And I went to Philadelphia, established my life, have soared at my company. I've gotten a promotion every year, met my husband online during COVID, 2 weeks after COVID, had our first date on May 22nd, 2020. He proposed to me New Year's Eve, and then we got married May 22nd, 2021, 1 year from our
Oh,
first.
wow.
Yes. So when I talk about transformation, and people ask me all the time how I met my husband, and I say, we got to start back at the point where I got real with myself. I got whole, healed, and complete. And then he just was a byproduct that added into my life.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I do have a few questions about your journey. What kind of time frame was this from the moment that you realized, like I call it, this need not be,
Right.
until you met your husband? How much time was that?
Yeah, so I got my diagnosis in 2012, but I really didn't start my work then. I really got intentional around my work around 2015. So it was some time. I even had as we talked a little bit offline, I had a 2-year man
Man
hiatus.
fast.
Man fast, a 2-year man fast. And people are like, 2 years? Absolutely. I did not, I dated myself. I sent myself flowers. I did
Wow.
candles and smell goods and baths and spas myself. I dated men, but I was not interested in being intimate with them. I didn't want anything that would cloud my ability to really get to know myself, get to know me, work on my communication. How was I communicating my needs to another person? Did I even know and understand what my needs were? I had to really get clear on what those were so that I could articulate those to a man. I can't tell you how to treat me or what I want in relationship if I don't know that myself. So I got to really know me. And so I moved to Philadelphia in 2016 and I met my husband in 2020, but had very positive, good relationships before I met my husband. They just weren't the absolute one. Definitely the infidelity was no longer an issue. Staying too long was no longer an issue. Just being able to have a conversation of, you're an amazing person and I'm an amazing person. And I want you to go meet the person that's for you. I think we're aligned on these many things, but there's the few things that we're not. And those things are, for me, reasons why we, probably should not continue this relationship on. But you've been amazing. Like I'd never been able to break up with a person or quit a job, or I hadn't formulated the language to be able to have that conversation and have everyone walk away still feeling good.
Right.
And so I worked on that and I did that work. And so 4 years later, I met my husband.
Yeah, one of the things I tell my clients is a byproduct of the man fast is you get so much clarity when you come out of it.
Yeah.
Like I remember doing a very similar process, and immediately, like he would say something in the first day and I would be like, this ain't it. I'm not going to try to change you. I'm not going to try to deal with it. I'm not going to second guess what I feel, because if I feel it, it
That
is
piece.
there.
Our intuition is so strong, and the more we're connected to ourselves, the stronger it is and the better it informs us. So you are so right with that.
Yes, yes. And so that was I think just that is a main benefit of the man fast. Like if you just do it for that one thing, you will save yourself so much heartache
Yeah,
and
and the
headache.
other piece in that, and what I find in a lot of the women that I work with, is the victimhood of relationship, the oh woe is me of relationship versus the accountability. So you made a really great point. I was with someone because they could pay for stuff. And that was the reality when I had to get real with myself. So I can't be mad that he did these things because I was in the relationship for the wrong reason. And far too often, women blame the men for the failure of the relationship when, like you said, there was something that happened early on that you could have chosen to go left and you went right with the relationship. And now 3 years later, after he's wasted your time, now you're mad. But the reality is you get the healing when you say, you know what, I saw that and I chose to move forward. I chose to stay in that. I wasn't strong enough for whatever reason, whether it was the sex was good or the money was good or he looked good on paper, like whatever those reasons are. So I'm really a proponent of accountability, because without that accountability, you can't, and that's in every aspect, even as a leader at work, I have to be accountable for things that don't go right.
Right.
And when you do that, you grow. And then you're able to have a different confidence and awareness going into the next relationship.
Yes, yes, because one of the things that I really do teach in therapy when working with clients is all of our bad behaviors have a good intention somewhere.
Yep.
And so it's even like taking that layer of judgment out of with yourself and saying, okay, why did I stay here? I stayed here because just the thought of having somebody laying next to me
Felt good.
felt good.
And that's okay.
And that is okay. Because once I'm aware, then I can change it and pivot and find a healthier way to meet that need.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. I agree. I have an interesting story. My husband has an ex-girlfriend who says some not positive things about him online at times. And we happen to have the same friends, so it's kind of weird. But the funny thing is that my husband, if you ever see him, he is like suited and booted always, manicured. I mean, my husband irons his t-shirts dang near, like he's that guy. Well, she didn't want it. She presentation and what she looked like outwardly wasn't important to her. So we've already got a mismatch in value. We've already got a mismatch in value. So at that point, everyone's trying to stick a round, what is it, square pin into a round ball or whatever
Exactly.
that analogy is, even at something at that simple. My husband is who he is. It's part of the reason why I love him. He cleans up very well. I love that about him. And I know when we're going out, I'm gonna clean up very well. So if I'm the person that doesn't mind being out with looking unkept, that guy is not my guy. And it can be something as basic as that. But what we tend to do is either we have sex with them too early, so we're connected. And now, even though we know from a core value perspective, we're not aligned, we'll try to make that work. Or the things about him that, whether he makes me feel good, to your point, or those things overpower what we're saying our core values are. And it never happened, you don't feel good long enough to get out of who you are at your core. So
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
I encourage women all the time, like, if you're not understanding who you are, your core value, to understand and observe a man and see if he's going to be aligned with, and this does not have to be 100% alignment, but there has to be some baseline alignment about the direction you both want to go in life and how you want to show up in life. And I think we too often do ourselves a disservice by not doing that. And then we end up bitter and having these negative conversations about this person, when at the end of the day, my husband was always clean shaven. Like that's who he was. So if that's not
Right.
who you are, you should have never gone down that road, and nor should he have. So it's not even on the woman. He should not have either. And that's something that he learned. So we all, that being accountable to ourselves is so valuable and empowering.
Yes, yes. I love what you said of knowing who you are and then also knowing what you want. Because one of the things that I teach is women need to have you need to have a list of at least 3 to 5 non-negotiables, right? Like, you know, I like to travel. And so one of my big non-negotiables was I need a man that likes to travel. And then I also need a man that's not jealous because sometimes I like to travel with my girlfriends and I've even been known to travel alone.
Mhm.
And so I think it is important to know what you to know what you want.
Mhm, mhm. Knowing you is the most empowering thing we can do as women. Knowing us, because then we can trust and lean into that intuition. We can lean into our womb space. We can just lean into those things that really are our internal guides.
Yes, yes, I love it. Now, one of the things that I know one of the titles that you share or that you have is the title of mother.
I do.
And so the one of my taglines is I believe that healthy singles make healthy marriages. Healthy marriages are an environment where healthy children can grow, and then that will in turn create healthy communities. And so, how did your kids take to this transformation, and what was it like having your kids see this kind of glow up and this evolution of mom?
That is a great question, a really good question, because they did, they observed it. I think for them at first, it was a little uncomfortable because my kids ran track. They ran like a big Division I schools. They represented the United States internationally. They were in papers, Gatorade Athlete of the Year, that kind of thing, like really at a high level. So for so long, I was Julian and Ashton's mother, and I played that role and, getting people to track practice and making sure you got to the chiropractor and making sure you got your physiology work done. And, then also making sure you're at the tutor because you got to keep your grades up. And so that was my role. And when they went to college and then I started having time by myself and thinking about myself and how my youngest went to college in 2012, that's when I got 2010, excuse me, I got my diagnosis in 2012. So it took them going away for me to even take care of myself. Like I had not been and had a physical in probably 4 or 5 years.
Oh,
and,
wow.
and my finally the kids go away because I never made time for myself. Now I take them to every they something hurts and I'm rushing them to the doctor because I want to make sure they're okay. But for me, I didn't. So that's another one, just that being selfish in our self-care and caring for ourselves, because we, especially as Black women, we will work really, really hard and not do that. So they were definitely supportive because we're super close, but it was perplexing a little bit for me to think about moving across the country. I was their stability. And so that was a little like, wait, where am I gonna live? And what about you will figure it out. You will come with, or you will figure it out. Like, one or the other.
Right.
And it was healthy for me too, because I had tied my identity to them too long. And I had, when they were in college, I was at every track meet, and sometimes they went to different colleges. Sometime one morning I was on in the Big Ten, and another time I was down in the SEC, like trying to just be everything to them when I needed to take on a manager role with them and then really govern and lead my own life.
Yeah.
I've raised them to that point. So, but what I love about the transformation and our closeness is that I think that even because they were with me through those not healthy relationships. So them seeing my growth, my confidence, me being so self-assured, my marriage. I mean, they absolutely love my husband, like love. And so I'm so happy that now I can show them what that really, really looks like, and they can mirror that. And so that part, we've stayed close through it all, but it was some growing pains of, wait a minute, you leaving? Wait, what's going to happen to me? You're grown. You have a college education. I have poured into you all I can. So I had to not feel guilty about that. And I had to be at peace with, yeah, I poured everything into you that I could.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they were not happy at first, but now they applaud me. I had my 50th birthday. They were so excited to help me plan it and get this stuff all ready. I love to do big Lux event. So we had 3-day ball and they were like front and center,
Oh
just
wow.
really, really exciting. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And what a healthy, what a beautiful example you could be for them.
Yeah. And that's what's important to me. And some of that transformation, you think about that too. I'm like, oh, what are my kids seeing? I hope that they're not okay with being single or being in bad relationships or relationships that don't serve them to the fullest.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, you want unhealthy to feel unnatural to your kids.
Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah, that's beautiful. And so, before we transition to kind of the next thing, I know a lot of women here have just kind of started thinking and noticing patterns and in that first couple stages. So, what are some of the tips? What do you think was some of the beliefs or even actions that you did to really help support you throughout this process? Because I tell a lot of people this process is not easy. Sometimes it feels like staying unhealthy
Yeah,
is the default, right? But
yeah,
um, it is not easy work, but it's definitely work. It's no better investment of time. And so,
correct.
what were some of the things that helped you kind of stay the course, even in those ouch,
Those
ouchy
moments.
moments?
My desire to have better, because I always thought I should be better. Like I'm like, my dad used to say, shine so bright that they have to put sunglasses on. And I wasn't shining that bright. I was dim. So I needed to shine bright. So almost like leaning into who I think my purpose was and being okay with that. I have a big personality, but I was playing small. So so being okay with that. The second was like really investing in myself. So coaching, spending money on coaching. It was the best investment I could have made, because we try to do it ourselves or we try to look at some free YouTubes or, just whatever. We will invest in homes and external things, but the internal investment is where the most flourishing happens. Again, I have been promoted every single year and I work in a very great industry. and so I've gotten that back tenfold because I don't believe I would have expanded and my energy opened up so much to not only be embraced and received in an environment where there is no one that looks like me, but then also being entrusted to be promoted. So, there's so many other aspects of your life that investment comes back. The next thing is like really being okay with being with yourself, because if you can't be with yourself, then you're not going, if you're unhealthy with yourself, you're unhealthy with another person, and now you've brought somebody else into your stuff.
Right.
And making peace with those relationships, making peace with the husband. My husband was abusive. I have 2 beautiful children that I would have only had with him, so I'm at peace with that. The gentleman that cheated on me forever, I'm at peace with the fact that he financially made it possible for my kids to go to private school and have a life that we really, my kids ran all over the world. I was able to be front and center every time. They never, were without me. So I make peace with that because there was something of value that I got out of that relationship. I'm never a victim, never a victim. And when we can do that, then we can move boldly and open into that next relationship, because we don't
Yes.
have to take he did this and he did that. You know what? He was a great friend. He was a great supporter. There were things that he was a lawyer. So there were times when things that I had legal questions and he could answer them. So I won in that way. I allowed the cheating. I stayed after I knew, so
Right.
it's just being more accountable and not being a victim. And that's just how I looked at it, even in those ouch moments.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great advice. Now, one of the things I would love to pick your brain about is you have had great success. Clearly, you've had great success with online dating.
Yes,
And
yes, yes, yes.
I
I'm
know
a big
you,
fan of online dating.
yes, and I know you coach clients around their profile and putting their best foot forward. And one of the things we were talking about offline is a lot of women that I've seen um, are really averse to online dating because of various past experiences.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
so, what would you say are some of the benefits? Like,
mm-hmm.
why do you think online dating right now is popping?
So the landscape has just changed. A lot of it has to do with COVID, but online dating used to be something that was not mainstream, thought of as a little sketchy and things like that. No longer. People, with the advent of social media and the ability for the world to be smaller because we can just connect on phones and apps, and we can know. I was at dinner last night with a group of Facebook friends who I literally only knew them through Facebook, but we had a dinner together. So I think social media has made it a little bit more mainstream in that it's okay for us to meet people that we don't know and engage and start relationships. The second thing is people are busy. People are very busy. So those quality men that fit our list, and I'm not a list person, but I'm just being a little facetious, but those quality men that are out there, they're busy. So they're online. It's easier for them to be online and swipe than it is to be out and meeting people. And then COVID. So we were all at a standstill. That's how I got online. I had never been online before because I travel so much for work. I meet people. But
We
because of
were
COVID,
all at a standstill and
we
we
were
were
all
all
at a
doing
standstill.
this.
Yep, constantly. And you know what? I was in my house by myself and I was like, hold on. I want somebody. I don't want to be in here by myself. Who not like the pandemic? Who knew what was going to happen? And I tell people, hey, it's cuffing season on the East Coast. Ladies, where's your partner? So all those factors have made online dating so much more front and center. And it's how people are meeting and marrying their mates. My husband, I was online about 2 or 3 weeks before my husband slid into my DMs, and we were married. We were engaged 7 months later and married a year later.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and I met quality men. I have one guy who just got married not too long ago, and let me know that, and another one that checks in, how's married life? I mean,
Really?
I met such quality men. So I'll tell you, I went into online dating with the most optimism. I didn't have any negative thoughts because I hadn't had any negative experiences before. So I didn't have any negative thoughts. I just went in completely optimistic. I put great pictures up. I use my sales and marketing language to make my profile pop and come alive. So I tell women all the time, if you go online with a mindset that this isn't going to work, or I'm just kind of doing this begrudgingly, or, oh, I don't want to do this or whatever, you're going to meet trash people. I mean, and I don't mean it in that way, but
Right.
You will attract the energy that you're putting out there. People, that's just how it works. It's energetically, because at that point it's all flat. No one knows what you sound like. You're literally attracting people based on kind of like your energy. And so I say it like this. Hey, I wanted to be hired by the man of my dreams. So my resume was flawless. And if we put the same type of intention, time, and effort into our dating life as we do into getting degrees, Black women are the most educated, into climbing our careers, we made the most jump and move career-wise. And if we put that kind of energy into our love life, we'd be unstoppable. But we put that energy in other places, and our love life is kind of like a what do you call it? It's just a
byproduct, like
a byproduct, yeah, like something we don't invest in, and we get where we don't spend time and energy. We get what we invest in. We get what we pay for, basically. So, hey, pay for the app. Don't do the free because you.
That's the key. You need a price of admission.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody does, because then everybody's interested. Everybody is at least more serious.
Right.
And people that say, oh, I had a woman tell me she was afraid because she didn't want to be the victim of a violent crime. I said, people are violent, people are killing each other all day. People that they know, that they met regular in real life at a bar, or they grew up with them, or whatever. Some people married, and so being online does really not have anything to do with, you being more susceptible to crime and things like that. Vet the person, talk to them a few times, be on, a virtual call with them several times. Anyone that I went out with, and it was COVID, so we could only walk and be out and big, picnics and things like that. But my friends, I had addresses, mama's name. My friends had all the information. They needed to be able to where I could see them on LinkedIn or some, something where I could verify, who they were. And so be smart, use your intuition, be smart, and go onward and date. People are getting married all the time from online dating.
Yes. I love that. Um, how So what do you think, how do you coach your clients how to safely make that transition from, oh, he's cute, we're talking on, I believe, look, I haven't done it in years. So
Well, we're in the little app.
we had a website back when I was doing it. Now there's apps.
Now, yeah, it's an app on your phone. You can just.
So you message, how do you transition from when do you give them my number to like when does it feel good to meet in person? Like what is your advice around that?
Yep. So I do my Tuesday dating tips. I make those public on my Facebook page. So I go through a lot of this. But the reality is this: hey, a lot of it is intuition. So the better, again, that you're connected with yourself, the better that intuition, you'll know if somebody is good, or not. So if they catch my eye or I catch their eye and they reach out, we'll engage a little bit in the app. I don't have a hard and fast, we got to be 3 days or 2 days. It's about a feeling. It's about, how we're engaging in the app. If I really like the energy that we have, then I may ask them. I know women want men to lead, and that's fine. However, men are nervous too. My husband said all the time, he said, I was always apprehensive to want to move too quickly off the app and ask the woman for their phone number because I don't want them to think that I'm trying to rush them, or I'm trying to push them. And other men told me I don't want to be rejected. So I prefer if a woman encourages us to get off the app because then I'm clear about where she's at. And so when you have men that are really trying to do it right, they're thinking about those things. Mm-hmm. So, I said, hey, I'm really enjoying these conversations that we're having online. I'd really love to hear your voice. I hope it sounds as good as your words.
You're so good. You didn't send a message like, are you gonna call me, ? Or make assumptions that he wasn't interested because he didn't ask you for your phone number?
And my husband did not ask me for my phone number. He popped his in there. Now, I'm not calling a man, but that's me. So he popped his in there and I said, ooh, my Southern grandmother would roll over in her grave if she knew that I called a man first. And he was like, oh, no problem. What's your number? I gave him my number and he called me. And that was that. It was an easy way to navigate a situation. And part of that was me also practicing on how to be more engaging in a much more compassionate way. Instead of, I'm not calling you, you gotta call me. Or I'm in so many groups where women, I can't believe he just gave his phone number to me. How do you turn that situation around?
Some of these men can't win for losing in some of these groups with the mindset.
They can't. So I work with women on that whole engagement. So now we're off the app. Now we're talking. So talk a little bit, make sure you feel comfortable there. Are you having engaging conversation? And then I would always recommend before going out, doing some type of virtual Zoom, FaceTime a couple times and then schedule the date.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really enjoyed our conversation. Will you tell the ladies a little bit about what you do and also where they can find you?
Yes. So I do have my Leader and Lover podcast where I interview amazing women because just showing that we can have it all. And how are people doing that? There's so many tropes out there about not being able to find love at certain ages, or women don't have really good friendship circles, or, all of us are single and there are no good men out there. So, I interview women that have very full lives and they define how they have it all. So really, really empowering there. You can also find me and so that's Cheri at Leader and Lover podcast, or just look up Leader and Lover podcast. The other place is at Dating Facts. So I have a website, www.justthefacts, and it's PHAX, like our last name, justthefacts.com. And there we do dating facts. I do Tuesday tips. I have, 5 must-dos for dating online. I do dating profile audits, consultations, coaching. So I do any of those things to help prepare you to allow love into your life, because I feel like that is a component. And I know so many of us have just said, I'm not going to find a man, or I don't need a man. And that's not true. That's not how we are built. We're built for companionship. We're built for partnership. We were, depending on what you believe, we were created as a partner for someone. So that's where we operate our best. And I'm a big proponent of that. So a lot of times we're saying that to protect ourselves because either we haven't found that love, or that love has hurt, or love has hurt us and we haven't been able to reconcile that. So I know most people do want love of some sort. And I just hopefully want to create that ability in my little area of the world for love to find the women that feel that, working with me would help them do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
I have too. I have too. So I'm really excited. And we'll have some things for the ladies. And they can reach out to me at any time. But really, really have enjoyed this conversation. And I hope it's helpful.
Awesome. Yay. Well, thank you again.
All righty. Have an amazing day.
You too.